Hey guys, I am Hunter Dino. I am your Dino Fury Pink Ranger and the new Cosmic Fury Red Ranger. I just met Gaz here because look at this, right? But I just heard about his YouTube channel, Action Activate. You guys should go check it out because he's amazing.
I make it rain. Anyway, hi, I'm Gazbot, and I'm here for Action Activate. And if I'm Gazbot and this is Action Activate, then with me, as always,
it is the Big Dog, also here for Action Activate, and also here to talk about Rail Riders once more.
So
here we are.
Yes, yeah, I did that doodle on my notes. So we watched episode 1, now episode 2. Now the good news is we're banging through it. Episode 3 is already there, and then it's going to be a wait for episode 4, and then probably a much longer wait for episode 5. So enjoy it while you can.
Yep.
What were your overall thoughts on episode? Oh wait. First, last week I watched the YouTube version missing scenes. Then we watched it together, and I kind of saw the missing scenes, sort of. This week we've reversed roles.
Yep.
Why?
I forgot that on the non-YouTube version that I don't know if it's in where it plays or if it's just on my phone, but I couldn't fast forward.
Oh, okay.
So because of that, I was like, well, I'm not watching this because if I go in and out of YouTube, like it'll keep on the video. But on either the Facebook link they had or on their site, it would like restart. So I'm like, well, this is
interesting. Well, I can tell you, maybe on Zenith Films proper, that's the site, those are the people that make this. But I have it queued up on their Facebook link, and I can go back and forth, and I can play it at 2 times speed. So
I can play it on 2 times speed on both. I just tried right before this to watch it on the website and fast forward it, and I couldn't because I think for this episode it's only like a minute difference, whereas for the previous episode it was 10 minutes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, for those that don't know, Zenith Films, check it out.
We don't have to gray this out, by the way.
Oh, you're right. Well, I thought maybe some of the footage was, I don't know.
Yeah, it should
we
be
don't
fine.
know. We don't know what we have to gray out or not.
Yeah.
But, okay, so that being said,
yes.
So you got most of it. You missed very little, you think?
The YouTube one is 28 minutes, and the one on their site is 30 minutes flat.
You missed about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so first thing to talk about, what were your overall thoughts before we get into it?
I liked the episode. I did enjoy episode 1 a little bit more, and we'll go into why throughout the episode. Are you similar?
Yes, I did enjoy it, but I liked episode 1 more for sure. Not by like a gigantic margin where like this one's terrible, but just I'm glad the first one was first.
Yeah,
it got me.
I think. Kind of before we officially dive in the episode, and we are going to jump around a little bit in what we talked about.
Yeah,
I felt like the first episode, in terms of like a ratio of like comedy to not seriousness, but just like not goofy, was let's say maybe 20% comedy, and this one definitely made it more 50-50, maybe even 60-40.
I don't know about the numbers and the percentages that you're throwing out there, but I agree this one had a lot more comedy. And I'm not against comedy, especially in Power Rangers and campy stuff. I guess we're just jumping all over the place. So I'm just going to let it play as we talk then.
Yeah.
And I have it at 2x speed, and I'll just throw it up here.
Yeah.
You can kind of get an idea what we're talking about. I didn't like how much fourth wall breaking there was, to be honest.
Yeah.
It once was kind of funny, but I think they did it like 3 or 4 times, and I was like, that's weird because that's not what this show was previously.
Yeah, the first episode felt like their take on a proof of concept for Power Rangers, and this seemed more like a parody of Power Rangers and Rail Riders, and some people in the comments said so. And again, that's not saying that makes it bad.
No,
I just preferred the tone of the first episode versus this.
The word I would use is inconsistent.
Yes.
And for the most part, like the visuals, the acting, all that stuff is consistent. But the first one, you're right. It was like, this is pretty close to like a real Saban Hasbro adaptation with a few little minor things. And then the second episode is like, oh, we're clearly on YouTube and fans are watching this, and here's a wink and a nod, and and that kind of took me out of the reality of it a little bit, which again isn't bad. I mean, I like Akiba Ranger and I like things like that, but it was just an odd shift, and it makes me wonder what's going to happen in season 3. Is that tonal?
Episode 3?
Episode 3.
In this episode, I know in the comments for the last one, we were talking about who our favorite Ranger was, and did your rankings, for lack of a better term, shift this episode?
No, I still like Tokyo 1 or Red, but I do like 6, which makes sense because I like the 6 Ranger and Tokyo a lot, and this one was almost the same character.
Got it.
And I'm not saying that as a negative, like that's just how they did it, and I like that character, so it translated. And that sort of alien kind of like not quite getting it, and this less tragic backstory that's not that tragic, so it's kind of funny.
Yeah, it seems like, based on what you're saying, because I haven't seen Tokuger at all, this is a lot more in line with like Time Ranger and Time Force in terms of the overlap of like they're almost the same but different. Like, well, and again, not in a bad way.
I haven't seen Time Ranger, but I understand that that's what people say, and I feel like that is probably this. Which is interesting because they are cutting a lot out, but I do some of the jokes they did, like the MacGuffin converter and things like that. I did wonder. Oh, he didn't get there yet. Well, this is a nitpick on one of the jokes. I think there's 1 or 2 times. Actually, it's coming up right here. There's 1 or 2 times I think there was an inconsistency in the verbiage of the writing, and this is an extreme nitpick. But one of the times is Schwartz goes, "I formally request you take me to go see the conductor." And then he's like, "Nah, I'm not going to do that." He's like, "I think you mistook my command for a request." And it's like, you just said request. You literally said the word request. So that it's a nitpick, but it bothered me. And I feel like that was a script thing where they probably changed something or didn't realize they wrote it, and then it just got filmed.
One thing I like that they did this episode that they didn't even call out was they had human forms for the monsters and didn't say it. But like it was so seamless that I thought that was so clever for how they were able to plug in more like unique footage in with the Sentai
I
stuff.
agree with that, and I even more than that was impressed with this part of right here where they matched their footage to Schwartz and even had the foot on him, and then they had like the back and forth, like they did it really well, and you don't even see that much in Power Rangers with the civilian interacting with the Sentai footage. They have suits if they have to do that on occasion. So that impressed me a lot, the way they did that, and not just that they did it well, but the fact that they chose to do that, because that's like, let's do a hard thing. Let's make it harder on ourselves, and I appreciated that. Good on them. Yeah.
Also, this made me really like this general. He was very strong, very formidable. Like I liked him in this episode.
In Tokuger too, it is a thing where he's the real villain. I mean, there's other villains, but he's the one you watch. This confused me a little bit. I liked that Red One used his stupidity, as they say, as like a weapon. Like, I don't know how to use it. Like, that was smart. I like that completely. What struck me as odd, though, is the whole thing was the leverage was, I'm going to hurt Blue, too. And then he's like, they let him go. And I thought it was like, oh, they'll let him go when we get to the train or something. But then they let him go. So I was like, well, wait, why? There's no incentive for him to help now. I didn't quite understand that.
I took it as he was using Blue in the moment. And then he's like, well, if you cross me, I'll just destroy you, kind of thing.
I guess, although Red is the one who said that. If you do this, then I'm going to punch you. It wasn't the end of the world, but it did, I don't know, just seemed odd to me.
Yeah. A lot of back and forth with the conductor in this episode. I like Green a little bit less, which I think was the intention this episode, where he's just a giant Eeyore of like, I hate everything.
True, but like one of his jokes were here when the Six Ranger shows up. He's like, "Does that mean I could leave?" That did make me laugh. Like, I'm not against all the jokes. Honestly, Green stayed about the same for me. Red stayed the same for me. I like Orange. Pink went down for me. I did not like Pink this episode at all. Like,
very just strong kind of takes with her.
Yeah, and like I get that the whole joke was nobody wanted to hear the backstory. He's this rambly guy. And later on, it works a little better when, like, we're calling for help, and I don't have time for your backstory. Let's, but she's just like, shut up. No one wants to hear it. It's like, whoa, that's super aggressive. Like, Why are you being so mean?
One other thing that this scene reminded me of is they do a good job of showing us the subtle time jump where they've been fighting, they've been a team for a bit, things like that. I really appreciate that because really, and I predicted this in the last episode, so I guess I'll give myself an Ninja Steel point, where it like the one-off episodes of Rangers are technically filler, and then you go to a plot of like, oh yeah, here's the Six Ranger, boom, like you can theoretically have like 5 episodes for a full story. I loved this part.
This was cool. Where it was like, and it was implied. Oh, okay, they used to be friends or at least allies, and now they're fighting. And I agree with what you're saying about the exposition was handled well, and they even started that with the villains. Like, oh, it's been going on for weeks now, but it didn't feel forced. That that was written well to just explain it without feeling. Yeah, it was well done. I agree.
One thing, just reiterating from last episode, I understand the limitations of it behind the scenes. These fight scenes are way better sped up.
Yeah, and I did notice too, if we talk about like Green, clearly has some martial arts training, and maybe they all do, but like Green once again got sort of showcased that way. There's one scene where, not to pick on Pink, but Pink was fighting some of the unmorphed ones, and like just completely kind of slowly kicks near them, misses completely.
Yeah, that I think was more of an angle thing of trying to hide it a little bit better. But again,
I would put that with a compliment though, because overall it was pretty good.
Yeah,
and I like the big civilian. And again, this is sort of like you get credit for taking those big swings. You're like, hey, let's do a bunch of civilian martial arts fights. I get like nobody's doing that. So even if it's not perfect, thumbs up. You're doing it. And they even, this was earlier in the episode, but they showcased all of like each ranger got their moment to shine in the fight, and it showcased the different fighting styles. You saw Green is sort of just like, I'm martial arts. Red, again, just kind of a bruiser banging people into each other. Blue's kind of like, I don't want to fight, but I'll kind of, and Pink's sort of just like falling into accidental winnings, and Yellow kind of super aggro. So even though there's technical limitations with the martial arts, storytelling was very good.
Yeah. I really was off-put initially by how like robotic Orange felt, and then this point onward liked him throughout like nonstop.
You think you basically caught on to what they were doing and why they were doing it that way? Or?
Well, I understood he was supposed to be like kind of alien, but at first I'm like, is he going to turn out to be a robot? Because again, I don't know any of the backstory. Right. And then after this, it was more stranger in a strange world as opposed to, hey, why are you guys doing it this way? So I think I took it as this is where both the writing and the acting got more comfortable with what they were going for, whereas before it was a little.
Well, and maybe before too, they didn't reveal that he was this evil alien, so maybe they didn't want to. And that is kind of how Doug Huger was, but it also reminded me a little bit. You ever watch Stargate SG-1?
A little bit back in the day.
A little bit of early season Teal'c, where he's like, he has emotions and stuff, but he's like, what are we doing here? Just kind of very like.
Good pull. This fight was cool. I especially like the part with Orange in a sec. It was the 1/4 wall break. I was like, I like that 4th wall break. I thought that was funny.
I didn't, only because I was already like, what are we doing here with the 4th wall breaks? With the gun you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And I also, and again, nitpicks, but like if you're going to use a gun and it has a safety tip, I know it's hard to get props. You're not going to paint that or digitally alter it. Like you could see the orange tip.
Yeah.
Is it because he's orange and so they forget? But if the joke is this is a real gun, then it should look like a real gun.
Yeah.
I didn't like that because I was already like stopped with the 4th wall breaking. I feel like once or twice you could get away with, and it's not the whole show. But at this point, I'm like, oh, they're all, and they make another one here about the quarry. Individually, the jokes aren't necessarily unfunny, but I feel like you've just made it so they all know they're on a TV show, and the stakes have not, they've lowered.
Good teamwork, though.
Yeah, better than last week for sure.
Yeah,
in terms of and stuff. I think last week for them it was like months ago.
Yeah, as they go into this fight, again, a lot of Sentai footage. I don't know the backstory in Sentai of Orange not being able to switch colors with them. Is that just a thing that happens?
I don't remember, but they say it's not imaginary, and I don't remember the answer, but it is a thing where he's an alien and he has his, not an alien, but a monster, dimensional creature, whatever you call it. And he has his vehicle and it's just not part of the rainbow line. You know what I mean? Is the way I remember. But I haven't seen it in a couple of years. So I feel like their explanation works.
See, theirs I liked. No, his is a train. What? How's this a train?
I think she says it's real.
Something like that.
Joke I liked when the visor was off and he couldn't see because it was like his glasses.
Yeah,
I like that joke.
Yeah. But yeah, right here you see it. And yeah, I think it said, that's a real train or something.
I also think the quips during the fight were good.
I really think, and again, I didn't see the Megazord footage this time, but I think the strength of this series thus far has been the civilian fights and good use of intermixing that with Sentai fights and their commentary during Sentai footage.
Yes. Yeah.
I think those are the two biggest strengths. And then, as you said, not bad, but inconsistent is how jokey or serious, we want to be.
Again, there was another joke there where they shoot the rail gun at him and a train comes out and Rock's like, why am I getting hit with rocks? You shot a train at me. Fine with that joke. Makes perfect sense. It doesn't break. Yeah. I hope they don't do more of that. So
all this part's new to me.
Right. We talked about the Zord last time, and I had said as much as I like the show and as much as I have a bunch of toys, I didn't get the main Megazord. This one I would get, but I never found it for cheap. Yeah. Similarly, the monster on the right, that's the normal Shadowline train that transforms into that thing, and that was always like $200 even when it was new. So both of those I would like to have, but never saw them at a price.
Yeah, it's a thing. We'll have to hope for the best at Power Morphicon, or if one or both of us go to Japan ever, we'll just look and hope it's at a vintage store or something.
Right. Well, yeah, but even now, maybe we get it for a better price, but there was definitely a minute when all this stuff was super cheap. But even then, that Shadowline, it must have been like an online exclusive.
Yeah, it was probably like a P Bandai, maybe.
Yeah. And again, okay, here's a joke that perfectly skirted the line. When I was either yellow or pink, or I think it was one of the girls, when they got it, she's like, wow, this thing's awesome. I'd buy a toy of this. That's an obvious joke, breaking the fourth wall, but it's skirting that line where, you could just say that. If I was in a big robot, I'd be like, oh, I'd buy a toy of this. And it doesn't necessarily say, hey, we know we're on a TV show. This part,
I'm curious your opinion. The yellow kind of throwing herself directly at orange, was that out of left field for you?
Yes, absolutely. Okay.
I'm cool with it. Just make it.
Yellow is the character that I most can't get a handle on. She just seems angry, but I can't quite get a handle on her.
Wait, isn't Yellow the one whose boyfriend died or was looking for her boyfriend or something?
No, Pink said she had a missing ex-boyfriend.
Okay.
But that was I took that as a joke.
They commented on something like that earlier. I just couldn't remember who it was for.
There was a joke that when they saw the Six Rangers, she's reminds me of my missing ex-boyfriend, and that was the joke for Pink. That's why Blue was scared of Pink. If they said something about that Yellow, I don't remember.
Gotcha.
The way he delivers imagination here at the end is 100% the Sentai.
Yeah.
This goofy smile and everything.
Seemed pretty good.
Yeah.
Liked this, very throwbacky for Mighty Morphin days. Overall, again, I liked it. I'm excited for episode 3, but both sad that we're almost caught up already once we've just found this, hidden gem. So
yeah. People have mentioned we had talked about Paladin Rangers, which was Kira Major. At least 1 or 2 people said something about wanting to see it, so maybe we'll check that after we finish this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down for whatever. It's not that I hate Mystic Force. I just like new things.
Mystic Force, we've got 22 episodes or something, where it's we have one more episode of this, and then we can do a whole. The other one's 1 episode, and, we can be done and whatever. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention is I deliberately did not watch this, but on their YouTube channel there is I think it's called Director's Commentary or something, where it has the director's commentary, talking about all this stuff. We're I wonder this and why that. They might answer a lot of those questions, but I didn't. I will probably watch it when we're done with episode 3, but I didn't want to watch that and then this.
Yeah.
But I am interested in that, and I know one or more of the people involved in the creation of this watched our first review, so thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Too hard on you. As we always say, we do this with love. We do this to official Power Rangers. If we didn't care, we wouldn't be looking at it at all. If we hated the first episode, we would have been done. We'd have been that was cool, done.
Again, trying to keep it as positive as possible. Yeah. There have been other series or movies or things that we've either watched or talked about, and we're we don't need to do an episode on it. Whereas everything you see that we're reviewing, it's because we felt like it was worth the discussion and we liked it and etc. So definitely, cool to find series like this, especially because, as we're in the, year of hiatus, asterisk, I hope it's just a hiatus and it comes back next year.
Is being optimistic. I think that's very optimistic.
Yeah. So, hopefully, it's temporary, but with that in mind, finding anything new Ranger related is really awesome, and especially when it comes from fans that clearly like Power Rangers, and it shows. It makes it even better.
And I just want to reiterate, because I have tended to nitpick more than you. It's an impressive feat. Well done. You've done what Saban does. You've done what Hasbro does, but with very little money and no big studio. I don't know what you put into it, but it's almost exactly the same as what they do. It's like there's like only a hair's difference, and I know you don't have those resources. So applause for that. Applause for wanting to do it. Applause for doing it. Nitpicks aside, it's an amazing accomplishment. And the fact that didn't do just one episode, but you're continuing this whole narrative, because doing it once is impressive, but doing it to completion, that's a huge Herculean feat. So well done.
The other thing, and I don't remember if we touched upon it last episode, but I really appreciate that going into this series, either you said it in episode 1 in the description, but you for sure said it in episode 2. So whenever that was decided, letting us know the full length of your story is beyond appreciated.
Oh, absolutely. And not, because there are other series we've watched that we like that don't necessarily tell you or say one thing and then it changes, and that's life. That happens, and not everyone do it. But knowing that there's gonna be 5 if everything goes the way it's supposed to, it's just nice. You know what to expect. You're not watching an episode like, well, was there 3 more later, or is it done now? Or I agree. That is very good. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the other benefit is this only needs to film theoretically half of an episode, and then the rest is all editing, special effects, whatever. So
I think more than half. I didn't breaking it down. I bet you they're filming 75% new stuff.
But my point is, when everybody gets together and gets it done, then the other part of the episode coming out, thankfully, doesn't rely on everybody having schedules of being in the same room.
True. Because even if they have to do voiceover, they don't have to be there at the same time. One thing I forgot to mention in the credits, we knew this was going to be the Sixth Ranger by the title and the fact that we looked at it last week. But they did change the credits and incorporated the Sixth Ranger. I don't think they were in the first episode.
I don't believe so either. I think we saw them in the cameo of the time jump in episode 1, but that's it.
Different. That was just, there's another guy here. But I like and dislike that at the same time. I like it because, that is totally in keeping with what Power Rangers do. They change it, and they change it before they're introduced. So this is accurate, but I don't like it because I don't like it when Power Rangers does that. And it bothered me only a little bit. But then when they're doing all that fourth wall breaking, I'm like, if they're going to do that, then why did they? So that was just like, I don't know.
I think that was all I could think of for this. Excited for episode 3. We're going to review that. Other than that, for Ranger stuff, was there anything from your end?
No, Power Morphicon coming up. They've been announcing more guests. For those that don't know, I am an artist and I do a lot of Power Rangers art and stuff. And I got a table. I've sold there before. You've been there before. So I did officially get my table. Haven't booked the hotel yet.
Woo!
Yeah. So I will be there. Big Dog, are you 100% going to be there?
I am 100% going to be there. I am 99% not going to be there Thursday or Friday.
Thursday it's not open. That's just to get to.
Well, Thursday's the pickup day and some people go into town. Like when I went last time, I was there because I stayed with you beforehand. I was there the whole time. I was like, you know what? Is anybody here beforehand? Whatever. This time, in terms of the show, Saturday and Sunday, I'm there for the whole shebang. Right. If there's anything after each night, I'm more than happy to go to that.
I will be there because I'm setting up the table and vending. So I will be there Friday, but I'll be there setting up and vending. I'll be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But Big Dog will stay after Sunday, and I will probably leave relatively quickly because I'm not staying over and I got to drive home and stuff. But we will have a table. It'll be under Gazbot. It won't be under Action Activate because I have an art table. As of now, we don't plan on doing any panels or anything. That could change. I don't know. We'll definitely try to get some interviews and stuff over there. But
if something happened, cool. If not, I mean,
I would love to do a panel only because at Ranger Stop I did a panel, but you weren't there, so it was me and Steve Intrigan who does Baboon, and then we did virtual panels during COVID for Power Morphicon. I think 2 or 3 of them, and that was cool. But I would love for you and me to be together and do something at a convention. I don't know if it can happen at this one because that's like the biggie, but if the opportunity presents itself, for sure, we would love it.
At the very least, and we've talked about this offline, I'm just really stoked to see so many people. Like, you got a taste of this when you went to Ranger Stop. Okay, Ranger Stop in Florida in November, where people came up to you and said, "Hey, we watched your show," which I haven't had happen. So hopefully it does. If it doesn't, that's okay.
I'm sure one person will say it to you. I couldn't believe how many people were saying it to me. Like I didn't think anybody would. You know what I mean? We're a tiny channel. There's lots of Power Rangers content. And every single person that said something to me, it warmed my heart.
Yeah. I am excited also to meet up in person with some other people that we've talked to or interviewed virtually.
Sure.
All the Nerdbot, Anime Fire people I've seen in person at the last MorphCon. Excited to see them again. But hopefully, we can finally meet the Unworthy people or, some of the other fan series like, the Rail Riders, if any of them are there. Or
a lot of times people will have actual booth or panel, but a lot of times they'll just be there too.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're way in the future, but if you're there, come say hi.
It's not. I mean, it's 4 months away.
It is 4 months away.
Isn't that crazy? I know. I have to say it to make it like
it's far and close at the same time.
It feels a lot closer than it is far. I'll be honest.
A lot about not the topic of this video.
Yeah. Anyways, I have been the big dog. He
continue to be Tokyo Gazbot.
And till next time, to the power. See y'all later.
I will put on the end credits. I just realized how far away my microphone was from my face. You could hear me okay that whole time?
I can hear you fine.
Okay.
We'll find out in post, but
Well, what you hear should be what's recorded. But do I sound like way louder now?
You're a little bit louder now, yeah.
I guess I should.
What I was going to say is, speaking of having no budget and taking a bunch of video footage of Ranger-related stuff,
yes.
What was it, 4 hours or 5 hours that day?
Probably, I don't know, it was half a day. But did you notice that the weapon I had is the prop, the toy? It's the exact same thing they use the prop for
I know. It's awesome. Very happy to see that.
All right. I have to go. I haven't had dinner yet.
Ooh.
Bye.